Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta on Tuesday held a meeting with the Treasury Cabinet Secretary Henry Rotich, Attorney General Paul Kihara, and officials from Treasury over the controversial 16% value-added tax on petroleum products. Although details about the meeting remain scanty, sources say the president was briefed on the numerous legal options that can be taken to bridge the tax collection deficit gap without overtaxing the taxpayers. But as Chris Thairo now reports, there is renewed pressure on the president to sign the Finance Bill 2018 that would suspend the taxation of fuel products for another 2 years after jetting back to the country silently on Sunday from a 10-day official trip in China. President Uhuru Kenyatta remained tight-lipped over calls for him to sign into law the 16% value-added tax on petroleum products.
After jetting back to the country silently on Sunday from a 10-day official trip in China, President Uhuru Kenyatta remained tight-lipped over calls for him to sign into law the 16% value-added tax on petroleum products, which caused a public outrage. Sources within State House intimated to KTN News that Treasury CS Henry Rotich met the president with other officials and briefed him on the resolutions they adopted during a meeting last week between CS Rotich and Parliament's leadership under Speaker Justin Muturi.
And I can assure you that going forward, we will be able to address whatever issues may be of concern to Kenyans.
Now, this was our first meeting, and we are going to have a series of meetings until we get the issue solved.
But even as Kenyans eagerly await the president to sign the finance bill to unlock the current crisis caused by high prices, many have kept their fingers crossed only him can sign the bill that will see the newly introduced 16% VAT on petroleum products suspended until 2020. And the opposition is not relenting in piling pressure on the president.
I don't see why the president would return it to our parliament. But if that happens, I know as a minority side, we will quickly call up a parliamentary group meeting to take a firm position, which obviously would be to overrule the president.
I think the recourse is to recall parliament. And I did write to the minority leader, John Buddy, requesting him that in the expiry of 14 days, which is the window upon which the president should have given us his side of the story, then we need to recall the parliament as a matter of urgency.
The National Treasury is reluctant to do away with the fuel VAT on grounds that the move will create a budget deficit of about 71 billion shillings. But according to Mbadi, there are so many other avenues that the government can use to bridge the deficit without burdening Kenyans.
We have some parastatals. There are investment parastatals, like Kenya Civil Aviation Authority, Communication Authority of Kenya, and many others. We can also cut budgets on those parastatals. And again, cutting across all ministries, all departments, including even parliament, we would still go ahead and save to the tune of even 20 billion from there.
Are we living beyond our means? That is the question. Are Kenyans being forced, being suffocated with the budgets that they cannot afford as a country?
Although the deliberations are State House between the president and CS Rotich remain scanty, more follow-up meetings are expected within the week between the relevant stakeholders before the president makes that crucial decision. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has been pushing the government to raise its revenues as budget deficits and debts, which have now reached a high of 5 trillion shillings, continue to spiral. Chris Thairo, KTN News.